they agree to take the clients that we send.
Yes, that'll pay for one full-time equivalent attorney for a year. So we'll donate that time.
However many we can get in that 1 year period is what will be covered.
Yes.
With the amendment we put in, the treasurer and I will be tracking it. We've had over 400 MERS foreclosures that have now been declared illegal by the appellate court. We have over 100 dockers cases, which are the Linda Green ones I showed you when I came in front of the Board of Commissioners. A judge in Michigan today declared all assignments have been done by MERS illegal, so that adds a whole bunch more to this work. There's enough work to go around. I mean, and there are some private attorneys that are doing some of this. There are some people that are doing it pro bono. The reality is there's too much for any one person to do, and we need help. And the legal aid is going to be the one that's going to help us.
And we're the best bang for your buck.
By far.
My question was if you went alphabetical order and you got down to R and you ran out of money, what would happen to those?
V is out of luck.
V is, that's why I didn't say V. V is out of luck.
We are starting to, we're actually mailing, with the help of Commissioner Drebner, who did some work on the voter rolls to actually find some of these people, because some of them already moved out of their homes. We've actually are sending a letter to each of them offering help from legal aid and offering a couple other resources. So we do think that this is a very important issue. In all honesty, you should be interested in it as well, not only from a what's right for the people standpoint, but also in terms of the funding for the county. Every foreclosure lowers the amount of money that's available to the county and lowers our tax base. So if we can keep people in our home, what we're really seeing now, we're not trying to get people to their home for free necessarily. What we're trying to do is get people to have modification. And what we're seeing is banks coming back to the table and letting people stay in their home and work out a reasonable modification. And that's what legal aid is going to help us do, keep people in their home.
Excellent.
One other question. Do the people have to meet certain financial obligations before they can go to legal aid?
Sure. Right now, our policy in terms of foreclosures, because we do have some other grants as well, is that we raise our traditional income and asset limits for foreclosures. So anyone we would give advice to, but if we made a determination that they had the assets or resources to obtain private counsel, then that would be the case that we would take.
So the two of you are from legal aid then?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
okay, I didn't realize that.
Sorry.
Lori Poor's my managing attorney over at Legal Services.
Okay.
I've been there for 12 years.
And I'm Kelly Mackey. I'm a supervising attorney, and I oversee the foreclosure work.
You must have some brochures for us.
I do. Would you like them?
Yes, I would.
Wow, all right.
That answers my question.
Okay, great. Commissioner Schultz?
You didn't bring a crystal ball with you, but had you brought it, do you expect this to go on to into the next year, 2 years, 3 years? When do you think we're going to be able to get a hold of this?
We're in the process of trying to change state law. And if we can get state law changed, there'll be a different pattern on how these actually foreclosures happen. What we're looking at trying to create is a third-party tribunal that would look at these individual cases and decide whether they have to go to regular foreclosure by advertisement or digital foreclosure. And I assume if that happened, there would be a different system that would be developed. Under the current system, your only option is to hire your own attorney. The reality is there's no difference between the people that are getting modifications and the people that aren't getting modifications, those that are keeping their home and that are losing their home. What's really the difference is representation. And so we need to provide good representation to individuals. If they don't have it, it's really hard to fight. And I can tell you, we had a case, I don't mean to get up on a soapbox, I had a case last week, Bill Donahue, citizen lost his home, was losing his home to foreclosure, had already lost it, the sheriff needed it, and it had already happened. Bank of America had given him a modification. He was making payments, active payments to actually Bank of America. It had been sold out from underneath him by MERS to a company called Fannie Mae. So Fannie Mae went ahead and foreclosed. Got a sheriff deed, called Bank of America, said, "Why do I have the sheriff deed? I make my payments." They said, "Don't worry about his paperwork." So he goes ahead, goes ahead at sheriff's sale. 6 months later, he gets an eviction notice. So Bill called me up because we've been in the paper a lot on these issues. And I ended up getting a hold of somebody at Bank of America through a mutual friend who is a lobbyist. And they took a review of these documents, and in one day they realized, oh my God, we can't be foreclosing on this person. We've done a horrible thing here because their liability was fairly high. So that happened. The same day, they said, we're not gonna pursue the eviction, we're gonna expunge the sheriff's sale, this guy's gonna get his modification, don't worry about it. Well, I'm a trust but verify person. So I show up at the court with Bill, and I stand outside of the court house and wait for the attorney for the foreclosure company to show up, and sure enough they did. And they had no idea still. And that's how complicated these issues are. The banks don't know what's going on. The citizen is only going to be able to keep their home if they keep fighting for themselves, even if they're making the payments correctly. So we need somebody to be helping in these cases.
Kelly is an expert in this and has these very cases.
I do, and not only are the banks not communicating with each other and the homeowner, but they don't communicate with their own attorneys. And so it's just the example that I just pointed out is these attorneys are going forward with the eviction when they're not authorized to. And it's crazy that how often it really happens.
She said to me, she's like, well, how do I know you're telling me the truth? I said, no, as an elected official, I just show up in front of the courthouse and randomly ask for attorneys. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, nobody knows what the other side is doing, and the banks aren't the ones making the decisions. Unfortunately, the foreclosure companies are. So you need somebody to get their attention, and that's why we need attorneys.
Okay. Sounds like a nightmare. Commissioner Selentin.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And then Commissioner Copeland.
Register, have you talked to any other registered deeds through the state? Is this something that you're proposing, which I think is a good idea? Is that something you feel like others are going to start contracting with other legal aids?
You know, every county is different. I like to think of us as leading the pack. But that being said, we have been working with the associations across the state. I'm very active in our association, and I lead the committee that's actually looking into this. We've had 21 registers from across the state who have already submitted stuff to the Attorney General for investigation, the FBI. We've got interest from all 83 counties, and they've all found stuff. They just haven't all done their full investigations yet. So they're in the process of doing that. There is some class action lawsuits that are being investigated, including some on the Register of Deeds side for lost fees. So at some point we may be coming back to you on those as well. Not for money, just to inform you of what's going on. One other thing I just want to let you all know that we've actually just booked symposiums across the county, and I'll be getting dates to you, but they're going to be in rural, suburban, and urban areas, explaining foreclosure fraud, and property fraud as well, just explaining to people everything that's happening and the effect it's had on our community. So we're going to be doing that as well. So we'll invite you to those that are in your districts.
And this is also an expansion, but a continuation that we've been putting $20,000 a year the last 2 years into some of their foreclosure prevention efforts. It's, you know, Curtis, as is true of a lot of the Ingham County elected officials and department heads, really have been leaders in states on a lot of issues. It's great work that he's doing. I'm delighted that you know, we've got these extra reinforcements coming in, because this problem, we wished it would be gone, but it's just not going away.
I thank Eric for helping us find the money to do it.
And it also helps from a liability standpoint on the foreclosure process, because the counselors and the whole process has legal aid as a backup referral system, and it makes sure that we're cleaner on what we've done.
I hope you watch 2020.
It was 60 minutes.
60 minutes.
We're now at the point where we're finding patterns on our own, which is good. So I mean, and in the next resolution that's before you, the new system that we'd be working with, I think, will allow us to track a lot more information than what we're currently tracking now, which will allow us to find more documents.
Commissioner Copeland.
Is it income restrictive to be able to acquire these services?
We haven't completely ironed all of that out, but right now, in terms of the foreclosure services, we'll give anybody advice, no matter what the income is. But we right now make an independent in-house determination. If you can hire your own private counsel, then you shouldn't be taking the resources that other people need.
For example, we had a referral where a person earned over $100,000.
Owned a pizza company and some rental homes, and so I'm happy to give you advice about what your rights are in terms of foreclosure, some next steps and things to do, but you're taking up the time where you can afford to go hire someone to protect your rights.
And we'll have to be, you know, we'll talk about that as we go through the mid-course corrections, because obviously, you know, you're looking for 300 or 400% of federal poverty
Correct.
or below.
Eric is right.
You know, there's still people making, let's say it's $80-something thousand a year, and yet still have high, interest rates and such on their mortgages and so forth. And is that going to be a restriction on them because of their income?
I don't think necessarily that we've made that decision yet, but I don't think so. Because we'll look at what their household income is and what their employment expenses are, what their medical expenses are. So we haven't laid out anything.
But you have to remember that they've been working under federal grants that have specific rules.
Right.
So we don't have those same restrictions.
More flexible.
More flexible under what we're doing. So.
Family of 4 federal poverty at 400% is going to be 80 grand.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's a broad qualification.
Right.
Good. I think it sounds great.
But we also are always looking for predatory lending issues. So when you began your question with a high interest rate, to me that may have been something triggering our question. So.
And they have great resources. I mean, we actually sat down with the actual people that got the first MERS ruling saying that they couldn't foreclose in Michigan. So, and they're actually willing to work with us directly. So we're going to be in very good hands.
And you have also been one of the leadership counties in funding mortgage foreclosure prevention assistance counseling agencies. So there is that resource, and that ends up driving business to you, but you can also send some of those folks back to the counselors if it isn't of a legal nature necessarily the solution. So.
If you walk in any bathroom in East Lansing, or you find a signature that says foreclosure, stop your foreclosure now. Those are bankruptcy attorneys. Those are people that are not certified, that are trying to get people to do things that would be harmful in the long term. We need a real resource for citizens, not the sharks that are out there.
Well, I applaud you on this effort. I appreciate it. Commissioner Dragan.
To legal aid, how many different groups are out there that you know of in the county that are out there trying to save people from these foreclosures? I have been to 6 different meetings the past 3 years of 6 different groups. I don't remember where they all were.
Well, I think there's there's 2 statewide efforts that work together. There's the statewide Michigan Foreclosure Task Force and the Michigan Foreclosure Prevention Project. And then there's the individual nonprofit MSHDA certified housing counseling agencies. And so I don't know if you're had been meeting individually with them. We also have the Lansing Housing Coalition that has based in Lansing, and they bring together some of the housing counseling agencies as well. So in terms of having a unified Ingham County effort at this point, I don't know that that's.
Out of every 100, let's say just a percentage wise, but out of every 100 people that walk in, let's say, that are having a foreclosure problem, how many of them percentage wise can you stop?
It would, well, first of all, you have to understand that we're focusing on cases that we've actually.
I know, but I'm asking, yeah, this is a separate thing. I want to ask them.
Well, I guess I could say that, I was trying to think of it in different terms, so I would say for every 10 cases that come in, that probably 5, so 50 out of 100. But, and it may just be that that's because I see a specific legal issue that I can stop the foreclosure, but then the other 5 are going to get sent back to the housing counselors who may be able to work out some other type of loss mitigation effort, like a modification.
And they've been doing about 400 saves a year. I mean, the statistics have moved up and down a little bit. We have about 1,800 countywide a year, so I mean, it's a pretty good percentage, not everybody, but
And it's not just, there are times when it's not stopping the foreclosure, it's getting a short sale that actually doesn't ruin the person. And there are different other options. The best that can happen is the person staying in their home, and that's the first option at all costs. And I do think, because of a lot of the attention, we're seeing some great modifications that are being offered all of a sudden. So I do think that the banks are starting to perk their ears up, but you need somebody fighting on their side in order for them to do it.
The better modifications I've seen in commercial, they're signing documentation, confidentiality. They do not want the public knowing what they're doing.
I've seen I've had a couple constituents who are part of DocX cases that have called me in the last week who we've gotten attorneys, and they have gotten some pretty amazing modifications.
And that's, I deal with that a lot. I really, really do. And one of the benefits that I can actually use is to get around the confidentiality as well. We have funders like yourselves who I need to be able to report these fantastic outcomes to, and so usually I can negotiate some of the confidentiality away. I just can't say the name of the bank, but I can say what the outcome was.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item 2.
Thank you so much.